Okay, so let's start. First of all the information about the course is contained in Canvas. So if you go on Canvas, you will find that there is the syllabus and there is all the other information. So everything I say should be there. Okay, so let's start. What are the course aims? The aims are, first of all, to help you gain a better understanding of how to formulate and analyze useful models. Then, to give you tools to study such models within the context of complex systems. And finally, to give you also additional experience in programming and working in projects in a group specifically. So this is reflected in the learning objective of the course, which are specifically to be able to describe the fundamental ideas behind the numerical methods discussed in the course, to implement a simulation code in each of the simulation methods, and finally to analyze the results of the simulation. So here it's very important that you don't, well, part of the learning objective is also that you're able to analyze the results, not just produce them. That's very important. And what are the course methods? Obviously, well, not obviously, but we have three things. First of all, we have lectures, like this one. So the lectures, we'll see them in detail in a moment, but they are aimed at providing some background and some basic ideas behind the simulation techniques. So in that sense, they are not something that you should actively. The idea is not to give you something that you, I don't want to say that they are not necessary, but essentially they will not be evaluated against the results of the course. So you decide whether you want to attend them or not. But if you attend them, of course, you get a bit of background and you get a bit the feeling for what is useful for what we are doing in this course. Then there are homeworks. And the idea of the homeworks is to provide you with hands-on experience about the simulation techniques and models. So all the homeworks are already online, so you can have a look at them, and we'll see them in detail in a moment. And finally, there is a group project, which provides training in actually formulating a problem, making some work on this problem using simulations in a group, and finally to present it, to present the results and the analysis of the results. So let's start with the first part of the course. This is the lectures. So if you go on the Canvas page, you will find that there is a clear schedule of everything that is going to happen in the course in chronological sequence. And the three things, lectures, homeworks, and group project, are mixed because they are in chronological order. But now let's focus just on the lectures. So you see there is lecture 1, which is today, and the idea here is to give you a motivation of why we want to study complex systems with simulations and to give you the course information. Then you see that next to the lecture there are two sets of readings. So this is readings that I would expect you to actually read. Sometimes they're very long, sometimes they're books. In that case, I don't expect you to study the book. I expect you to read at least a substantial part, the part that interests you most of that book. And there are additional reading. These are additional things that you might want to read, which give you a better view, a better understanding of the problem. All this material are available if you go in Canvas in files. In files you will have lectures, where I will also put the lecture notes and the additional readings and the readings and additional readings for each lecture. So you see that there will be then next lecture will be on Friday, and this will be on Brownian motion and agent-based models. Again, there are some readings and some additional readings. Ideally, you should read the readings before the lecture so you can ask questions. And then if you go down the schedule, you will see that there is a third lecture, which will be on graph theory next week. And then there are lectures given by one of the course assistants, Aikut. And these lectures, well, in this case, will be about compartmental models, like the SIR model. And these lectures given by ICOT are really tied to the exercise, to the homeworks, which you will have done the day before in this case. So they don't solve the homework in class, just to be clear. But they give you, they build on the results of the homework to give you an understanding of why what you did in the homework is relevant and how it's used in other contexts. So each homework will have a lecture, a follow-up lecture, which builds on that homework. And this is one of the changes we made this year because of the feedback in the previous years, which was that the lectures were not tied to the homeworks very well. So now we try to make this very clear and very direct. So you see that ICOT will also give a lecture every after the correction of each homework. Then there are a few lectures by some experts. So in this case, there is this lecture, which is a lecture by Mary Tonini, who is a professor at EPFL in Switzerland, and she works with forest fires, which binds very well with the second homework. And then, there will be, again, lectures by ICOT about the topics of the homeworks, and a final lecture by Mite Mijalkov, who is a researcher at Karolinska Institute using graph theory to understand brain connectivity. So the idea of the lecture is, again, to give you the background, to interpret the results of the homeworks, and to give you some contacts with people working in the field using these methods in real life, real research that they are doing. So this is the set of lectures. Is there any question? Okay, so if you have any questions, again, please write them in the chat or raise your hand. Okay, then there are the homeworks, which are graded. So they represent 50% of the grade. And you see, again, the homeworks can be found on Canvas. You go to Files, and you have the 4 homeworks. The 4 homeworks are already there, so you can already look at them and see what they are about. For example, here we have homework 1. If you go here, you have homework 1. When you click here, you will get, okay, very important. So we'll have 4 homeworks. Each homework gives 25 points, and you need to get at least 10 points in each homework in order to pass the course. It's a very low mark in the sense if you do them, it should not be a problem at all in getting at least 10 points in each homework. So if you click on the first homework, then we see this one. So this is the PDF of the homework. If you look at the full PDF, you see that there is a description of what the homework is about. In this case, it's based on a variation of the SIR model for disease spreading, which obviously is very topical this year. And you see, there is a description of the model with some references, and then at the end, I don't really expect you to be able to read this. You can download the PDF, just to be clear. So just to give you an idea of the structure of each homework. And then you have a series of exercises that you have to do, and you know how many points you get for each one of them, of the points of the exercises. And the idea is that you do these exercises, and you do these exercises with whichever code you like. And by whichever code you like means whichever programming language you like. You can use MATLAB, you can use Python, C++, whatever you like, essentially. What we want to see, it's essentially that you solved and you are able to discuss the results. So you must have a series of results compiled and ready to show to us. I will go in a bit more details in a moment.
There is just one question. The students are wondering what is the meaning of this chapter 10. They ask if there is some book.
The meaning of chapter 10 is that there is no book on complex simulation of complex systems, surprisingly, which we could use for this course. So we are writing a book. and these are preliminary chapters, so you cannot find the book because it's not written completely yet. At least it's not published. So that's the meaning of it. So it's a book that will be hopefully out in 1 year from now. And yeah, so these are very early versions of the chapters of this book. Okay, so going back to the homeworks, again, you will see the full timeline on the course schedule. Now I skip the parts that are not relevant, but you see, you have exercise 1, so homework 1. Next Thursday, we have 4 hours in which we will be available through Zoom, same link, to help you with the homework if you need help. So if you have questions and so on. Help doesn't mean we can help you with the coding of the homework, but we can help you with questions you might have about the homework, or if you have some results already, you can show them to us and we can tell you if it's going the right way or not and things like that. This will be next Thursday. Then then there will be, you see, the correction of the homework, which is the Thursday after, and it's during the whole day. I will explain in a moment how that works. But in this correction, you will have to, again, it will be done through Zoom. So what will happen is the following. On Thursday, the 5th, I will send a doodle to all of you so that you can book a time for correcting the homework. So there will be time slots that you can choose, and you can, well, obviously amongst the available ones, and basically who comes first gets the best slots. So you book a slot, which is around 15 minutes, during which we will correct the homework with you. This means that one of us, myself, Agnese, Martin Celine, or Aiko Targun, or Laura Perez, which are my assistant in this course, will sit down virtually with you through Zoom and correct the homework with you. So you have to show them your results. What does it mean, show them your results? It means show for each point that you have done the simulation, they might want to look into the code and discuss with you some aspects of the code. And yeah, you go point by point and you show that you obtain the results and discuss what they mean, then how to interpret them and so on. There is a submission of the homework associated with the homework where you need to submit a PDF with the results. This doesn't need to be a report. It can be just a series of pictures. We don't really, it's up to you. If it's good for you to write down what you want to say, do that. If you just want to submit a series of pictures, it's fine too. That's not evaluated by us. But what we will evaluate is the discussion of the homework that we have during this session. Okay, I think it's a good time to ask you whether you have any questions. Is this clear? Is there any doubt?
There are questions from the chat.
Okay.
So one question is, are homeworks done individually? And then
homeworks will be corrected individually, but you are very welcome to interact with other people in the class and discuss them together and help each other. That's perfectly fine.
Then there is another question. Is booking a session mandatory, I guess, for the correction? It's not specified in the question, but I guess
it's not mandatory. You can just basically it will be organized like this. There will be a Zoom room, a Zoom meeting like this one, where you enter and someone, possibly me, will assign you to a room with a corrector when they are available. So if you come in a moment in which there is an empty spot, of course we will proceed to correct your homework. So you, strictly speaking, don't have to book it, but then you might come and we might be busy and you just have to wait 4 hours. So it's not compulsory to book. Even if you don't book and you come to the correction, we will correct you, your homework. Of course, if you come at 5 p.m., that might be difficult because if it's everyone busy, then we will not be able to.
Then there was another question. Is it possible to hand in Jupyter notebooks as out code?
No problem for me. The only problem is for the Canvas, because I think I said that only PDF can be accepted, but it's perfectly fine if you want to hand in a Jupyter notebook, you run it on your computer and then print it as PDF and hand in that. And then in the correction of the homework, you show the actual Jupyter notebook. You don't need to show what you hand in during the correction of the homework. You can show your actual code, your actual results.
And then there are other two questions. One, should we submit the code? And if the report is evaluated or not?
The report is not evaluated as such. It can be screenshots from your computer. You can submit the code if you feel that's... We are not going to evaluate the report. We are going to evaluate what you show us during the meeting, because we want to discuss with you and be sure that you understood and you did it yourself. Well, you can do it together, it's no problem, but you need to understand everything about the code. So you need to have a full understanding of the code, of the results, and of their implication. That's why we correct only, the grade is given based on the presentation and discussion that we have in person during the correction.
And so there is one question. So the meeting, is it mandatory or not for the...
Which meeting?
I think it is referred to the Zoom meeting where we actually discuss the result of the homework.
Yes, it's mandatory, because otherwise you will not correct the homework. And if you don't correct the homework, obviously you will get 0 points and then you don't pass the course. Just to be clear, you can, if you cannot, for a very good reason, be there during the meeting, we can arrange another time. But in that case, I will ask you to submit a report that shows very clearly that you have done the homework before the meeting. In that case, we will look at the report more carefully, and we could correct that at a later time. But the report should be submitted before the deadline. Anything else? I really want to take any questions, because I want to be sure that everyone fully understands everything about how we are going to correct it and so on.
So just, okay, there was just a confirmation. Yeah. So if they have to hand in a report with figure discussion as an additional to the oral examination for the homework, so no. Something should be entered in the system, I guess.
Yes, absolutely, but that can be very bare minimum. You can take, for what I care, you can just take your code and put it there. Just print it as PDF, or put a series of snapshots from your computer screen that shows how it runs and that it works. It's not a big deal. We are not going to evaluate a report. If you want to write a report because this helps you to put together your ideas, you are welcome to do that too. This has to be very clear, because I don't want you to spend time preparing perfect reports for the homeworks. It's not the point. The report is just because I need, it's mainly for people that, the only exception is people that for any reason cannot be at the correction. Then you need to make a good report so that we are sure that you fully understand everything.
So other two questions. How do they book? How do you book assessment? So I think the meeting for the correction, and what happens if the correction meeting overlap with lectures of other courses?
Okay. The first question, on Thursday, for example, for the correction of the first text homework on Thursday, the 5th, I will send at probably around 8 a.m. a doodle where you can register. So you will receive a message on the board, like the message for the Zoom code, where you have a link to a doodle and you register there for a time slot. That you will receive on the 5th for the first homework, and then on the 12th for the second homework, and so on. And the second question, what happens if you have overlapping times with the courses? I don't think that's very likely, because you just need 15 minutes out of 8 hours. So I guess you have 15 minutes that are not overlapping with any other course during a spread of 8 hours. If you have 8 hours of classes that day, then contact us, we can correct it at 5:15. But I don't think that's possible, because some of those hours are actually for my a part of the time that is the morning, if I remember correctly, it's in principle free from other overlapping courses. If you really have 8 hours, just contact us. We can correct you later at 6. That's no problem.
The course Dynamical Systems, it runs in the afternoon on Thursdays, so you have like the whole afternoon. So you only have the morning basically free, so that everyone has to book in the morning, which I think will make it difficult.
Okay, because everyone taking this course is also taking the course on... okay, that's a good point. What we will do is to maybe run the morning class. Okay, we'll let you book from 8 to 5. So and then basically we have 6 hours of correction, right? 45 minutes times 8, 6 hours. We'll let you book from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. so that almost everyone can fit within the morning before the course, the other course. That's, but thanks for raising that point. Is that okay for everyone? Or maybe I can do something even better. We will let you book a lot of time slots, like 100 between 8 and 1 p.m. and then leave a few more time slots, like 40 or 50, spread over the afternoon, so that people that want to come later and so on can do that. Is that okay? Okay, if there are other problems, we will solve them. So, good. Is there any other?
Well, there are I have other few questions regarding so if so the time. So during office hours, some person can have kids, or well.
I mean, you have to book
same time slot every week. Sorry.
You need a slot, a single slot of 50 minutes for each student. So if you have problems, be the first to book, and you can book anytime you want. By experience, most people, half of the people book in the first half an hour, since I sent the doodle, which will be at 8 a.m. I can give you the time, because I will, how do you say, I will make the message and make it automatic, so it will go out at 8 a.m. Be the first to book, and you will not have problem to find the slot you like. If you wait until the day before the correction, maybe the slots you like will be full, because by historical comparison in the previous years, what happens is that half of the student book in the first half hour to 1 hour. The other half books the day before. So if you are in the first lot of students that books, you can really book whatever you like. So you're completely flexible in that sense. I hope that, and again, if you have if there is a very serious problem that we need to address, just contact me. We can solve it. Anything else?
There is a further question about the structure of the assessment meeting.
It's very simple. So there will be a Zoom, the same Zoom, you connect, I see your name, and as soon as it comes your time and one of the teaching assistants is free, I will put you in the room with the teaching assistant. You should switch on the video and share your screen and show the results for each point of the for each question. So question 1, it's written that you have to show the model, SIR model working, for example. Well, you have to show that. And that could be either a series of pictures, better if you can have a video. I don't advise you to have simulations running in real time, because usually they fail during the assessment. So pre-save what you want to show. And then the TA might ask you, for example, can I have a look at the code? What does it mean, that line of code? Why did you choose to code it this way instead of another way? And then it's a discussion. point by point. Is this clear or?
I think it's clear from the chat. And there is a last question about the deadline for handing in the homeworks in Canvas.
Yes. And what's the question? They are already in Canvas. They should be already there.
No, for the deadline, I guess, for submitting the material, maybe previous to the meeting?
Yes, again, the material you submit in Canvas is not necessarily what you are going to show us. You can show us other material. And even if, again, it's not going to be evaluated what you submit to Canvas. And what is going to be evaluated is the discussion that you have about your homework. So that deadline is very, well, I mean, there is a deadline because I need to put a deadline, but we are not going to in any way, it will not affect in any way what you submit to Canvas. I mean, it's good that you submit what you actually have done, but you can submit an empty PDF. As long as you have done the work, we will assess it and we'll give you the grade regardless of what you submit to Canvas for the homeworks. Okay, any other questions?
Oh, here, I don't know if you have other slides to show, but there is another question. How much time is an estimation for doing each homework? How much time does?
10-15 minutes usually. For doing.
For doing.
For doing, not for correcting. It's like, it's very variable from student to student. What student told me in the previous years is that it's in the order of between 5 and 20 hours. But it really depends on the student, how much you know in advance, how much well you know how to program and so on. I would say in average, I would expect around 10 hours. But I would advise you to start doing the homework immediately, not to wait the day before the correction. And the main problem that often arises is that there are some codes that you write, but then you have to run, and the running time might be long, depending on how you implement the code. So it might be 2 days. It should not be if you implement it optimally, but there have been cases of students that just could not run the simulation because they did it the day before and then the running time of the simulation was too long. So that's typically the biggest problem. My suggestion is that you do them well in advance. Anyway, let me just proceed quickly on this because you see, after the homework correction, there will be the class by ICUT, and we have 4 homeworks. So here they are the other 3. So is all clear about the homeworks? Okay, so I will pass to the group project and so that we proceed. So the group project will be 50%, the other 50% of the grade. And the objective here, you see that is to develop a research style project, but also to work in a group in a semi-realistic situation like you will find in actual research or in a job, and to present your work, both in writing and with a video presentation. So practically what we expect out of each project is, and what will be evaluated, it's a presentation which will be an 8-minute presentation, which is a video that is pre-recorded and will be followed by 10 minutes of question, which is 30% of the final grade, and a written report, which is the other 70%. And the project will be presented to the class on December 17th. We will have a schedule and everything so that, yeah, various groups will present. And again, random, okay, very important point, the groups will be done at random. The reason why we do at random is twofold. First of all, because we want to create an environment that is as similar as possible to a real work environment where you don't really choose the people you work with. And secondly, because we want to ensure a mixing of ideas and skills. If you don't do it randomly, what happens often is that people that already know each other come together and work. I mean, the diversity of the ideas and so on is reduced. Okay, so let's see the scheduling of the group project. So first of all, we will have, this Friday, we will announce the groups. Now, I said it's random, but of course, if there is an extremely good reason why I should not, that I should consider when we make the groups, please let me know by Thursday. On Friday morning, I will make random groups, and then they are final. Before that, I can still influence that a bit, but there must be a very good reason. And the good reason should not be something like I like to work with this person and so on. I mean, I don't know. I cannot really think of many good reasons, but if there is, let me know. Then, in a few weeks, the next week, you have to come up with a project proposal. This is a very small text describing what you want to work on. Like typical project that I suggest that you don't do is how do you simulating traffic in Volkswagen. It's a very, very common project. And I would suggest that you don't do that. But then you say, I would like to simulate the traffic in Volkswagen and see if the new layout is better than the previous one in terms of trams time, the time it takes for trams to go through. So it's that level of complexity. Why do we need that so soon, as it was asked before? The reason is because the next week we would like you to have a meeting with your tutor. So each group will be assigned a tutor, which can be one of the teaching assistants in the course. And you should meet with the tutor to discuss your idea. And the reason for that is twofold. On the one hand, you can discuss the idea to be sure that it makes sense and can be addressed within the time that you have. Very often groups come up with ideas that are just too complex, and it's good to know that as soon as possible. And then you can lay out a plan about what to do together with your tutor. And we want to have this as soon as possible. That's why we want you to come up with ideas about what to study very, very soon. Okay? And then we have an intermediate project report scheme. We call it scheme because here at this point at the end of November you probably don't have the final results yet, so it's more a scheme so that we are sure that you have something to discuss the next week with your tutor. You have 2 meetings with your tutor. This is the second meeting, and here you discuss what you have done so far, what is missing, how to present it, and how to write the report. So that's the purpose of the second meeting with your tutor. Okay? In both cases, first and second meeting, you should get in touch with your tutor, which will be clearly written who is as soon as I create the groups, and fix a time. So it's very flexible, a time that works for all of you and your tutor. Very important, the project proposal and the project report scheme are not evaluated. So you don't risk anything about your final grade until now. Then you will have the project presentation, which is evaluated and represent 30% of your grade. This will be we expect you to submit it on Tuesday a bit in advance of, the reason is because we want you to submit an 8-minute video, so we want to be sure that everything works. That's why we ask you to submit the video by Tuesday 15, and this should be done by that date. And then the actual presentation will be on Thursday 17th. We will schedule it in a way that it works for everyone. Maybe since the number of students is much higher than we expected, we will split the class into 2 and have 2 parallel sessions. We'll decide that later in the course. And then you have the report for which you submit a draft on Wednesday, 16th of December to your tutor through the system to Canvas. And your tutor will give you some feedback, and then you submit the final report by January 10th. So, and this will be evaluated. So the final report will be evaluated, and the project presentation, including your answering, will be evaluated. One more thing that I didn't say, each group will be coupled with another group, which is, how do you call it?
Review.
Review. Yeah, a kind of review group, so that each group will be coupled with another group, and the idea is that the two groups can interact, so you can check with the other group their results, presentation, video, and so on before the project presentation and report is finalized. We leave the interaction between the two groups to the groups, so we don't force you to do anything specific, but it's very good and it's very useful if you can interact and check each other's results, especially in terms of how to present them. Any questions about this? Is this clear?
There were questions in the chat. For example, so about, I guess, the project presentation, the examination.
Yeah.
So it will be a movie of 8 minutes where all group members participate in making it, and presentation in 2-minute questions, no, 10-minute questions on Zoom.
Yeah. So basically it's a movie of 8 minutes, one per group. You decide who presents and how, you decide the production value. We don't enforce anything. Could be I mean, it's nice if all group members participate actively to the video, but it's not enforced. But all group members should be present in the question, in the Q&A question session following the video. And by the way, the review group of each group will be asked first to ask questions. So you will ask questions to your review group and vice versa, and then anyone in the audience can as well ask questions. Other questions about this?
And okay, there was how many people will be in each group, and if a group can have more than one project proposal.
Absolutely. If you want to have multiple project proposals I mean, I guess this is at this level. So next week, sure, you can have 2-3 project proposals and discuss them with your tutor to see which one is the most suitable. No problem. But after that, you should really focus only on one idea, because if not, you're just going to disperse your energies. But if you have multiple proposals, you can discuss with your tutor. The final decision is of the group. The tutor is not going to decide which project and how you are going to do it. You have to decide that. But you are welcome to have multiple proposals. But please don't ask the tutor to decide for you which one you should do. But you can discuss with the tutor things like which one is the most feasible, which one is these things is fine. Just a second before answering questions so that I go to the next slides. This is the series of criteria that we will evaluate for giving the grades about the project, about the presentation, and you see that this includes structure, clarity, format, motivation, conclusion, methods, and presentation quality. We will, all of us, which means all of the teaching assistants and myself, will give a grade for each one of these points of the presentation, and then we'll take the average. So that's how we calculate the final grade for each presentation. Very important, there are trivial things. Is the presentation well structured for 8 minutes and so on? Obviously, if you make a 3 minutes presentation or a 15 minutes presentation, you are automatically get 0 on that. So please try to stick to 8 minutes. It can be 7.5. It should not be more than 8, also because we will cut it at 8 minutes. So even if it's 8.01, we will cut the last second. To be fair to everyone and to be sure that we are on schedule. And these are the criteria for the project report. Structure again. And the structure is described very carefully in Canvas. And it's the format of a scientific article in a very specific format, which is a RevTech. And I guess, yeah, you have to follow that. And motivation. Do you motivate well the project? Is the project original? And I know this is a bit qualitative, but you can ask your tutor about it. In the sense, what does it mean not original? Well, there are lots of projects about, again, Korsvägen is one of the most common one, so that will not be considered original. Or if you prey-predator models, unless you have a new spin on it. But this is something you can actually ask your tutor in the first meeting to give you a pre-assessment of the originality. So it's not that arbitrary. Background, you explain the background. Methods, you explain the method. Execution, figures, are the figures properly done? Format, outlook, contributions. Very important in the background is that you have references to the scientific literature. That's one of the things that often it's missing. Okay, sorry. Okay, and final, how is the final grading done? Well, you get 100 points from the homeworks and 100 points from the project, which sums up to 200. And then the grade limits are this one, up to 100 points, from 100 points total, which is 50%, you get grade 3 in Chalmers. From 140, 70% grade 4, and from 180, 90% grade 5. In GU, you get from 50% G, and for 160, 80% VG. Okay, so this is everything I wanted to present, but now, obviously, if you have questions, please ask anything that is not clear.
So there are a few questions about what is the reason for having originality as part of the evaluation criteria?
That's an historical reason, and it's because a few years ago, lots of people were doing a few kind of projects, and it was very, very similar projects. So we decided to introduce something that gives more diversity to the projects. And by that, I mean prey-predator, trafficking, Korsvägen. Half of the projects were about these two topics.
Then how many people per group? Because we didn't say before. And any list of projects or example of projects or project ideas, if there are.
Well, okay, let's go step by step. Number of people will be roughly 4. 4, I think, probably. But we'll have to count exactly how many teaching assistants we have and how many people are in the course, which I don't know, especially the number of people, definitive students in the course. But it will be, most likely will be 4 per group. And list of ideas. We used to have a list of ideas, but the problem is that then people were, lots of groups were sticking to some of the ideas we're giving out. That's why we decided not to do that in the previous years. And it worked well because people were coming up with nicer ideas than what we suggested. So the answer is we don't want to give an explicit list of ideas, but the slides from my previous presentation will be available, and there you can see the series of topics. So what you should do is to think of a problem that you would like to solve and which can be ideally solved using numerical simulations of complex systems. We'd really like you to come up with an idea. Don't worry too much because this is a group project, and in a group you will come up with good ideas. So even if yourself right now cannot think of any idea, I'm sure that you will come up with good ideas as a group. Never had a group that didn't come up with ideas. Some other questions? Okay, is there anything unclear?
I have a question regarding the presentation.
Yes.
The explanation. So we have to submit a video.
Yes.
On the presentation day, we have to present the video again, like replay the video, or
no, we will play the video.
Replay the video.
We will play the video so that you send us a video and we will play that video that you sent us.
Okay, and following that, the playing of the video, we will have Q&A.
Exactly. So you need to be there because you will have to answer the questions and you will have to ask the question to your review group. So we will obviously schedule in such a way that the two review groups are next to each other. And so you have to ask each other questions, and ideally you can ask questions also to other people in the class.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I know that we are past the time that when the class is supposed to finish, so you can leave obviously. But if there are questions, please ask now. I will answer all the questions that come up before leaving, either by chat or if you want to speak, also by speaking. I mean, I want to be completely sure that all the structure of the course is clear and there are no doubts.
Oh, so there is a question if the next lecture will be recorded.
The aim is to record all lectures, but to be frank, it's the first class I give via Zoom, so I don't know what happens. You know, I know cases of people that didn't manage to record because it was corrupted. The aim is to record everything and put it online, but I cannot ensure you that that will work 100%. The only exception is the classes by Mary Tonini and Mite Michalkov, who are external speaker, and I will ask them, but if they tell me that they don't want to be recorded, then we will not record them. Good. Is there any other question? Especially also about the grading, about anything that might not be clear.
So there is a question, will the evaluation of the project presentation be the same as that of the homework?
No.
So explain explaining a certain line of codes? Or...
No, we will not ask you to explain a line of code. That's not... the project presentation will be in the style of a scientific conference where people can ask you questions about what you present and maybe what is in the report, like why did you choose this model, or what would happen if you do these other things instead. But we will not ask you to check the code. Of course, that might happen in the context of I don't think we ever asked anyone to check their code for the project. So we will. It will be like, I don't know if any of you has attended any scientific conference, but I guess you can imagine how it works. People present something, and then people in the audience ask questions about the content of the presentation, not about the code that they use, unless the code is very relevant, of course. Sometimes people have presented some snippets of their code, and then of course you can get a question about why did you choose to use that for loop instead of another approach. This happened in some of the previous editions of this course. Yeah, and the evaluation will be based on those criteria that I showed you, and they are on Canvas, obviously, not on the quality of the code. Good. Anything else? Well, in this case, I will stop the recording.